Okay, Shred Nation, it's that time of week where I start drinking coffee and yelling at a camera. They're paying me for this. That's not true. But today I really want to start out by saying thank you for helping make Change the Forecast have an incredibly successful launch last week. It earned more views within its first 2 days than any other video that I've put out within the last 6 months, maybe even any video I've ever put out ever. Over 350 of you commented beneath the video saying when the last time that you went surfing was, and I was a little bit taken back by how many of you had a run-in with a shark the last time you went surfing, so be careful. Later this week I'm getting in my car to go surf somewhere cold and kind of sharky, so I'm gonna be on the lookout. I'm really so happy that you guys are as interested in surf travel as I am, so today we'll give away a board bag to one of you that will help travel with 2 boards to wherever you're headed on your next surf trip. Welcome to Shred Show. This episode of Shred Show is presented by my friends at Quivers, who I love because Quivers is making Shred Show totally irrelevant if you live in Huntington Beach. Because Quivers will let you surf all sorts of surfboards from all types of different shapers in many different dimensions for a monthly fee that lets you figure out what type of surfboards you like without listening to someone on YouTube tell you what you might like. Who knows, maybe Quivers will even get some Chem Sleds very soon. Wouldn't that be great? To learn more, visit them at surfboardquivers.com. Shred Nation, this is the Honey Dip by Chemistry Surfboards, run by partners Will and Jason, who you just cannot help but be happy for at this point, because over the past decade they've broken through the ceiling of what many surfboard shapers or surfboard companies ever accomplish. If you can forget for just 1 second that there is a famous rapper in the middle of this photo, you will see Will on the right. He runs the business even while on vacation in Bali for weeks at a time, meditating in front of dreamy waves like this one. And on the left is Jason, who designs all the boards himself. He used to ride for Bob Hurley's company Hurley, and he now shapes surfboards for Bob Hurley, who you see here receiving a board from Jason. And for those of you interested in what Bob Hurley surfs, I'm thrilled to tell you that before Jason gave him that board in the photo, I lurked on the dimensions, and now you know. The dimensions on this board are 6.0.5 by 20 by 2 and 9/16 with 31.8 liters of volume. And the thing that got me interested in this shape is the fact that over a year of research and development went into refining it before it got released to the public at the beginning of this year. That struck my fancy because a lot of times I hear about a shaper or a surfboard designer creating a surfboard model, giving it to like 2 or 3 team riders, and then 4 or 5 or maybe 6 months later it gets released to the public. But a year to have a board in R&D is a pretty long time. Interestingly, when I started researching this shape before filming, I found it really hard to find any photos of this board being surfed that did not show someone blowing the tail out of the lip, like this photo of Jason Bennett surfing on a honey dip, or this photo of Shane Magnuson surfing on a honey dip. And it turns out that that maneuver in those photos has a lot to do with why it took so long to refine this shape. When you look at this board, you can obviously see that something is happening in the outline right here. You might call this a wing or a bump or a subtle hip. To me, I'd call it an extremely subtle wing, and it's something you can see Jason obsessively and compulsively refining in this photo. Now we know that creating breaks in an outline curve somewhere around here or here or here can make a surfboard feel looser, like it releases more abruptly from the water's hold, as opposed to feeling like it's gripping and holding to the water no matter how hard you push it. And one of the most challenging things for a skilled surfer like Jason is figuring out where to put that outline break and how extreme to make it, whether it's a really extreme cut into the board like a wing or just a very subtle increase in curvature. Of course, when a shaper like Jason is making those decisions, he's trying to make a surfboard, in this case a honey dip, feel a certain way while surfing it that a very skilled surfer like him or Shane Magnuson would be able to notice. In the case of this board, they were aiming for something that would give a perfect release point in their surfing, something that would hold and drive perfectly up the face of a wave, and then give a perfect slingshot sensation in the lip as they pivoted off of this point in the outline. The original version of this board had a more extreme wing in the outline right here, and it had more thickness in the tail of the board. And both those things make sense if you're going for release in the lip, because more thickness in the tail generally is thought to make a board feel more slidey glidey, and more extreme wings back here generally are thought to make a board feel more loose beneath your feet. But what Jason found when designing this board is that all that looseness and pivotness, if I can say pivotness as a word, made the board feel great in the lip, but a little bit too squirrely and fast on other parts of the wave, which makes it a little bit more challenging to set up your maneuvers at the top of the wave using precise and controlled bottom turns that make all those maneuvers up here possible. The solution was thinning out the tail more to make it sit down in the water a bit more, and making the wing more subtle like you see it now, and most excitingly, moving each of the fins about 1/8 of an inch back further than what you'd probably consider normal. And in the end, that created a board that met the chemistry team's standards for feeling loose and flingy at the top of the wave, without sacrificing too much of the drive and hold at the bottom of the wave necessary to set those maneuvers up. This probably refines this board for surfers who spend a lot of time in the sort of waves that we've seen in the photos we've been looking at. Beach breaks that may only give you a couple of pumps down the line before a section is careening towards you. But that doesn't mean that this shape can't work in different situations. For example, like these more lined up waves that we see Ryland Rubens surfing now. But the honey dip probably is best for intermediate advanced to advanced level surfers, whether at home or on a surf trip. Now, Shred Nation, if you are headed on a surf trip anytime soon, drop a comment down below telling us when you're leaving and where you're headed. And at the end of the week, we'll pick one of you to win a board bag that I have used to travel with 2 boards. This is the Recon 2 by Dakine, and it doesn't just let you hold 2 boards without fins while you're traveling, but it expands in the tail to accommodate a single board with fins, so you can use it as a day bag as well. Shred Nation, that is it for this episode. We'll see you soon on Shred Show.